right now, as you're watching this video, you may hear a really loud noise outside of your window. Maybe it's a really big car or truck that drives right by your house, and you don't pay too much mind to it, but you hear it. And the moment that noise arises, something arises from within, right? A thought that says, oh my God, I hate living in this neighborhood. Or that those noises are always happening. That it's so hard to focus when that noise happens. That how could I possibly meditate if I'm constantly going through these disturbances? Notice how that voice appears as you. It arises as me speaking. It arises as what I am. And the content of it is so random. You did not necessarily choose in the moment of its arising that it would say, oh my God, I hate that noise, or whatever it said. Moment by moment, this voice is arising and it is saying something here, then it says something at a different time. It may believe something so strongly right now, and then literally in a few days, it changes its beliefs. It's constantly passing judgment on your experience. It's constantly passing interpretations, descriptions of your experience. And it is being believed in as what you are. The moment it arises as you saying, I hate that noise, I hate living in this neighborhood, notice how automatically you become bothered. Notice how automatically you become troubled. And you allow that the content of whatever that thought was saying to become your experience. So that sound which triggered this thought, if this thought of I hate that sound is believed in, automatically you become annoyed. It influences your entire experience. And now you begin to suffer on behalf of the voice you didn't even choose what it would say. In this video, I wish to show you very clearly that you can go beyond this compulsive state of just feeling and suffering on behalf of this voice that randomly arises. This voice, which is always bothered, it's always hurt, it's always suffering. It is constantly using your experience, using what is happening, using what other people are saying or doing to make you miserable. You have to come to see that this voice is not you. Notice how automatically it arises. Again, you didn't even choose it. You didn't choose to think, oh, I hate that. But you may think that, no, Sunny, I really do hate that. But that itself is an expression of you so closely believing in this voice. See that this thought that arises is observed, is seen to come and go. The seer of this thought that says, I don't like that, is not saying, I don't like that. The awareness of the thought that is bothered is not itself bothered. The observer of the thought which is suffering is not itself suffering. There's a great freedom lying there that you just have to acknowledge. What is holding you back from acknowledging that ever-present background of your experience? It is this very voice which keeps you blinded, which keeps you in the realm of personal identity. So, in a very simple way, see that even right now, as you're watching this video, that voice may be saying, anything. It's just offering interpretations about maybe what I look like, what my background is, what I sound like, what I am saying, if it's good or not, if it's what you wanted to hear or not. And you are taking this to be you. There's an element of belief imbued in whatever this voice is saying. There's an element of identity given to these thoughts that are constantly arising as you talking about your experience. You will start to become free from the suffering that this creates once you start to acknowledge that which observes the one that's bothered is not itself bothered at all. That really loud truck can go by your house, and this feeling of being bothered and this thought that says, I hate that truck and I hate living here, that those both are phenomena that can be observed from a place of rest, from a place of peace. When you start to acknowledge that you are never not at that place of rest, regardless of your circumstance, regardless of your state of mind, then you start to finally wake up to the peace which is inseparable from what you are. So again, that which is aware of this voice, that which is aware of your circumstances and situations, is not in any way changing, is not in any way fluctuating, is not in any way going through the ups and downs. The ups and downs are only at the level of mind. The ups and downs are only at the level of circumstance, appearances. That which is aware is silent, still, at peace. It is not peaceful, it is peace itself. Again, acknowledge, right now, some thought may be arising in mind, saying something about what I am talking about, or maybe something totally random about what's happening later. You don't have to go with it. You can simply acknowledge the awareness of that thought. See it from a distance. See that there's an observing of that thought. Who are you that's observing? As what are you observing? See that the observing of that thought is not offering any commentary. You discover this, and you will go beyond being able to be bothered. You discover this within yourself, and you will diminish your tendency to suffer the contents of your experience. Just watching this video isn't enough. This must be practiced. You have to observe yourself going through life and watch all of these reactions that are arising from within you. You know how you always talk about your past trauma and wanting to release all of this past hurt and whatnot? That's how you let it go. It's coming up moment by moment, here and now. Your past trauma doesn't come up in the past, or it's not something deep within you needing to be revealed. It arises in moment by moment unfolding in the form of thoughts, sensations, emotions, feelings, reactions. The spiritual practice, one component of it is observing these things arising on a day-by-day basis as you go about your normal life, your work, your relationships, your personal day-to-day tasks. And rather than believing in these reactions, rather than believing in these compulsive behaviors, You start to observe them. You start to acknowledge that the awareness of them is not compulsive. The awareness of them is not reacting. The awareness of them is not suffering. The awareness of suffering is not suffering. It is plainly aware. There's no conflict at the level of awareness. At that level, you are free. You need only give up your automatic identification and belief with the voice that arises as me speaking. Notice the moment you believe in that voice, the moment you start thinking, you have automatically stepped into personal identity. You think as the individual person, the so-and-so me with this life, this idea, whatever. Automatically, you have come down to the level of personal identity. And on behalf of this person, you suffer. So one of the first phases of this whole self-inquiry and introspection is to start to observe the person, observe these thoughts, these sensations, these emotions from a distance. You acknowledge that essentially I am not this. Only when you start to detach, only when you stop misplacing your sense of self in thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, ideas about who you are. Only then can you really, once again, be the person fully. That's for a different video. But for this video, we're focusing on disidentification. And that comes through self-observation. And of course, your daily meditation practice is the staple, the component that it's like the foundation, which will allow you to practice this during the day when things are difficult. Without that devotion to yourself, devotion to awareness, you will have a very hard time practicing this during the day. So if you need to watch my 3-part series on meditation, which I highly recommend if you haven't seen already, otherwise all this will really remain conceptual for you, please watch that. I'll link it somewhere here. Again, I'll repeat, just to wrap it up, that the one who's bothered is being observed as what? Are you doing that observing? That which is observing, is that itself bothered? And you may say, yes, I still feel bothered. What you're calling bothered, it's simply a feeling that there's an awareness of. But now we're talking of you, that which is aware. Is there any being bothered at that level? You have to marinate in this. You have to let this really sink in. You have to really let this be something that you sit with and try to see. Don't just mentally answer yes or no. It's not going to help you. And don't just watch this video and then do nothing about it. Because, again, it won't help you. You have to put this into practice. See this so clearly until it becomes your conviction, and then it is your direct experience. And if you need help with that aspect of it, I encourage you to learn more about my School of Awakening. If you're currently suffering your experience, if you're having a hard time with meditation, if you're having a hard time with depression, anxiety, being lost in mind, then learn more about my School of Awakening. I will help you dissolve all of those things. I will help you go beyond even the capacity to suffer your experience by helping you awaken to your true formless self, your true position. So if that sounds good to you and something you're interested in, please learn more down below. But I hope today's video was a great help, a great reminder, a great awakener. I will see you next time.